I was raised by a single mother who taught me the opposite of love is not hatred, but indifference. When you stop caring about someone, it's the ultimate version of diminishing their existence. Of course, I didn't understand this as a child, and for a very long time, I couldn't let go of the grudges. I just really wanted apologies from those who hurt me deeply. In fact, I fantasized about these over and over again, while rehearsing the scripts of what I was going to say to them when it happens, until I actually was apologized to, once in my early 20s, by someone who has hurt me deeply. To my biggest surprise, it didn't bring any of the exhilaration or freedom I expected. I was absolutely not instantly freed of the resentment or sadness. I just felt really small, and even somewhat petty, for how much negativity I was holding on to all these years, and how unimpressed I was for the supposedly heartfelt apology. In every major religion, there is a focus on forgiveness, and the concept of forgiveness is often misused. Forgiveness can be seen as pardoning, excusing, forgetting, reconciling, or even denying. In Asian cultures, saving face is such a big deal. I was always taught never to hold grudges and always reconcile. This cultural emphasis often makes it really difficult for many to break away from toxic relationships. So why do we crave forgiveness so much? And why does it often lead to more pain? In this video, let's talk about what forgiveness really is and how we can forgive someone who has hurt us deeply. My name is Lydia. Here, I use psychological concepts to empower you through your personal growth. Please support my channel by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you. Forgiving someone does not mean you reconcile with them. You might never talk to them again, and you can still choose to forgive. This means you let go of the anger and still stay away from their negativity. Forgiving also doesn't mean forgetting. It's not about erasing the memories or pretending nothing happened. Trauma specialists will tell you our brain can unconsciously suppress painful memories as a form of self-protection, but the body keeps its score. Even if you don't consciously remember, the implicit memory will always be part of you. So what really is forgiveness? The big key to forgiveness is to know that it's not about letting the other person off the hook. It's about letting yourself off the hook. For many of us, it means forgiving the version of ourselves that allowed someone to hurt you. It means accepting our vulnerability and telling ourselves there was nothing you could have done better. It's about reconciling with our own fear and anger and let go of the better versions of ourselves that we could have become. This is also why receiving an apology will not address your emotional wound and help you move on. You're not forgiving the wrongdoer, you're forgiving yourself. You're freeing yourself from the negativity and allowing yourself to move on. Now that we know what forgiveness really is, let's dive into the steps of how to really forgive someone. Before I started therapy, I used to dismiss the idea of diving into past traumas. It felt pointless and hurtful because I can't really go back and change what happened to me. But when I finally broke down and just cried for hours during therapy, I realized the importance of allowing myself to just get mad, feel hurt, and grieve. This is known as completing the stress cycle, but specifically for the anger and resentment I was holding on to. The idea is you've entered a cycle of negative emotions, and at some point you have left yourself hanging there via emotional detachment or avoidance. Your body, however, is still processing the cortisol and the physical sensations. You need to let it out to close the stress cycle. Psychologists also recommend physical activities. If you find it hard to connect with yourself emotionally, cry, and grieve, try this. Go to a boxing gym. Work yourself up emotionally about the person you're trying to forgive or the wrongdoer, and take it out on the punch bag, like take it out at 100%. I know this sounds ridiculous to some people, but God forbid, it works wonders. It is especially useful for lighter resentment, like a very mean person you encountered at work that gave you a lot of stress. For the more long-term chronic emotions, physical activities may not be as effective, and we need some inner work. At this stage, I want you to get as self-centered as you can. The reason why we often find it incredibly difficult to forgive someone is because we still care about them. Or sometimes the hurt is just too deep, and we may never bring ourselves to forgive. The key here is to center on you and find self-acceptance, so you're not harboring unconscious negativity. Ask yourself, what needs to be forgiven? Who needs to be forgiven? Remember, We're being as self-centered as we can. Our goal is not to reconcile with someone and make them feel good about whatever they did to us. In life, we're our own and sometimes only strongest allies. We're choosing to forgive because we want to heal ourselves, to release the anger that's eating us away. If you meditate, I want you to visit the younger version of yourself who's been hurt deeply. Talk to them, in your mind of course, and ask what they needed the most. Offer them that comfort. I usually give my younger self a hug and tuck her in bed with a warm blanket. I'll tell her about my life right now, and I'll show her hope and reassure her everything will be okay. This is a very powerful technique because the center of resentment and anger is the version of you that's badly hurt and needed to heal. If you allow yourself to be the healer, establish the connection, and feel how much love and compassion you have for yourself, you can release that anger more easily. Once you reach forgiveness, or at least peace with yourself, you have some decisions to make. Like I mentioned, forgiving someone doesn't mean you keep them in your life. You may never talk to them again. And if you don't like it, you certainly don't have to verbalize the forgiveness at all. If you do choose to keep the person in your life, you must learn to set boundaries and protect yourself. Remember, your body is newly healed, and you're particularly vulnerable at this point. Don't fall into the traps of the people who will use you, even those who are the closest to you. Yes, it's true that you can't always count on other people to honor your boundaries, but you can definitely count on yourself to hold them. Learn the power of telling them what you did was not okay. You'll be surprised by how much this changes your relationships, even with those you believe will never change. Lastly, a lot of people think they're doing something wrong if they can't forgive. My unpopular opinion is, sometimes it's okay not to forgive. Sometimes your wounds are too deep and it will take a long time for them to heal. Sometimes it takes decades to alleviate the pain. Everyone's pain is different, and choosing to forgive is a very, very personal journey, which is why asking people to forgive is profoundly ignorant, and it can shame us, making us think something is wrong with going through the process of healing. In the end, I hope you allow yourself to find some peace and understand it is okay to feel hurt, but you can always move toward healing. It is a work in progress, not a one and done deal. How you feel is how you feel. Your heart is yours, your spirit is yours, your growth is yours. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time.